Heyo, Chatto. I didn't feel like playing Klonoa today, so we're gonna do Sprite review. Hooray! I'm gonna review some sprites from two video games, and that'll be that. We're gonna just have fun, talk about some sprites, and maybe do some more. Who knows? Not I," said the fly. I didn't feel like Klonoa today. I'm sorry. I'm in a mood. I'm gonna get some music so we can get started, Chatteroni. And then we'll start off with our first game. There we go. The music. There we go. Gonna turn down the music just a little bit. Now, for our first video game, I believe we will start off with Golden Axe, Revenge of Death Adder. So, a little backstory, a little history here. Golden Axe, Revenge of Death Adder, is an arcade beat-em-up sequel to the arcade game, Golden Axe. It is not Golden Axe 2. It is its own unique, completely different game that was never really ported to anywhere, I think, ever. It was an arcade exclusive only. And here are our heroes of the game. First, for our not Conan the Barbarian, it's Stern. He's not Conan the Barbarian, alright. Then we have Dora, the Explorer, who is also a centaur. So when Dora is riding the Bazarians, she actually gains human legs, which I thought was an interesting way to make her, do the do. Then we have Gon. I don't know if it's either the dwarf, who I think is Gilius. I think Gilius is riding Gon. I like to imagine that Gon is just Gilius's giant, slightly mentally disabled son, and he's doing his best. And they decided to do a Master Blaster, and I love them for that. And then there's Silly Rabbit. Tricks are for kids. Trix is a farmer. I don't care for him or his design. Yet again, we're getting a lot of very swords and sandals-esque design cues. This is yet again Golden Axe has a very Conan the Barbarian-esque style going on for it. He's coming. It is I, Conan, Barbarian Bigfuck with cock made of steel. Yes, biggest cook. So yeah, overall, each character has a unique special ability and magic. Hey, hey, Igby. So, would you like me to explain what Sprite review is, or have you seen these streams before? So the rules are I talk about a video game. Okay, so I review and talk about the sprites in a video game, and I talk about the general story of a game, and I just generally give my thoughts and opinions and whatnot on the video game that we're talking about during Sprite review. Today's game for our streaming delectation, for our streaming nation, is Golden Axe 2, which is a arcade-only sequel to the game Golden Axe. It is not Golden Axe 2. That is a completely different Sega Genesis video game, but the plot is very simple. Here's the plot. Oh no! Death Adder, somehow Death Adder, the villain from Golden Axe 1, has returned, and he has stolen the Golden Axe, which has the power to allow him to conquer the world. Go kill him. And here are our heroes for this said video game. We have our not Conan the Barbarian, Stern, who has middling magic. He's like the general. He's like he's not the slow but powerful guy. He's what we call the generic guy. He isn't fast. He isn't the fastest. He isn't the strongest. He's just in the middle. Then we have Dora. She's a centaur, and she's my favorite design of this entire game. Well, maybe Maybe besides Gon. I can't decide if I like Gon or Dora better. But you can tell that there's a real Conan the Barbarian fantasy going on. Whenever Dora, the centaur lady right here, in her American Gladiators-esque weapon, it really does remind me of the American Gladiators TV show. And I like her color scheme. Rides on a Bazarian. One of these guys, we'll get to them. Her legs become a human legs. I think it was this, like, spriting thing. Next up, we have Gon. He's a big giant man with a big giant plan. And he's got a fucking axe! So he actually is okay in my book. And then we have Silly Rabbit, Tricks Are for Kids. He's a farmer. I don't care for him and his stupid hair. What I like about Gon is I think that is the dwarf riding him, I think is meant to be Gilius Thunderhead from the other games. So I like to imagine that Gon is just Gilius Thunderhead's giant, slightly mentally disabled son. Gon has the most magic outside of Dora, but his magic is the weakest. Her magic is the second weakest. Trix's magic allows you to heal yourself, which you think would be useful, but the problem is it summons a fruit tree, and you have to grab the healing items, which are... it's just not worth it. So overall, I would either pick Dora or Gon. Yet again, we're getting a real Conan the Barbarian feeling from these people. I can't remember which enemies are first. Which enemies are the first? Which enemies are first? Ah, yes, the goons. We have here your generic goons. I'm sorry if you don't find this all that interesting, Igby. These generic goons come in multiple varieties throughout the entirety of the game, and they show up everywhere. They come in your classic blue-flavored goon, your flavored red goon, and sometimes they come in whip-flavored goons. So this game has multiple paths you can take throughout the game that will determine different stages, but there are no unique enemies for any of the different paths of this game. So, it doesn't really matter what path you choose. You're gonna see all the different kinds of enemies in this game, no matter what you choose. The goons, yet again, give me a sword and sorceries feel. These guys look like they would come out of a Conan movie, or some kind of Conan ripoff movie. I like the blue coloring of the generic goon and their big-ass fuck you sword. So far, Golden Axe is a series that is heavily inspired and ripping off Conan. Next up on the Goon Squad is, not Gimlis, as I like to call them. These are, like, these dwarf motherfuckers who show up throughout the game, and they have different variants, but I couldn't get the different colored variants while I was playing the game. I'm sorry. Yet again, I'm getting a very Lord of the Rings feel, hence why I call him not Gimli. I apologize greatly. I'm sorry if you don't care about this. I really am. You deserve better than this. Yes! Cock! And, the not Gimlis are just... they're not Gimli from Lord of the Rings. Gondor needs aid. My axe and all that whatnot. Now, the, not Gimlis will sometimes, man siege weapons that are, like, that you can use. So if you kill the Gimlis, or whoever is manning the siege weapon, you can get to use it against your enemies, and one of the siege weapons in this game is a catapult. I like it because it looks like a mini toy catapult you would give, like, a kid, and they would launch Nerf balls from them. Another type of siege weapon that you see in these games is these, ballistas, which yet again give me a very toy feel. I do like the weird Forky McBob. Fork friend, the Fork Mabob on the ends of it all, but I also like Death Adder's flag, which looks like a big old snake. Yet again, we're getting very medieval fantasy, very medieval fantasy vibes from this. It's like someone read a bunch of Conan the Barbarian knockoff books and watched a bunch of Ray Harryhausen fantasy movies while making this game. And then maybe watched Lord of the Rings and had a pizza. Next up are the gnomes. The gnomes come in two varieties, green and blue flavored. The blue flavored pictured here are, when you hit them, they drop magic potions which give you more magic for your magic attacks. And the green ones will drop healing meat. They will drop healing juicy shack meat. Healing juicy shack meat. I am truly the greatest. I am truly smart. Yes. Okay. What are next? One moment, I can't remember which ones are next. Now, this game has a problem. It likes to reuse bosses and, I could use some healing juicy shack meat. I'm sorry. This game likes to reuse bosses and enemies over and over and over again. There's only, like, one true unique boss in this entire game, and that's Death Adder himself. Next up are the Amazons. They actually show up as a boss, but are, become basic enemies later on in the game. The Amazons come in two varieties. These red-headed warrior women, these beefcake queens, these mommy-dommies, if you will, and, punk rocker mommy-dommy flavored. Pictured here, ripping the fuck out of a dude. I much prefer the, red-headed versions of them, the long-haired versions, but that's just me. Yet again, it's like someone saw Barbarian Queen or something and decided, oh boy, I want some of that, baby. Baby! Baby! I'm gonna have to I'm sorry, one moment. Warrior Queen. One moment, I want to show you so you know what I'm talking about when I say Warrior Queen, because I'm making a reference to an obscure B-movie. It looks like the punk mommy's just crusted her feet. That she does, actually. Yeah, you're right. One moment, we are something here. Where is it? See what I mean? They look like they come straight from the movie Warrior Queen. I'm not crazy. My weird references make sense. Where's the next boss? Now I'm going to show you some of the Bazarians. Bazarians are these creatures that you can ride on in this game, and they come in multiple different flavors. The first up is the Mantis Bazarian, which comes in multiple different colors. It comes in green and gray. The green version just shoots a jet of flame downwards, while the gray version shoots fire in a straight line. It's a fire-breathing mantis. I feel like this is something that a 10-year-old kid would draw in their notebook. Like, okay, what would make for a cool monster? I know! A mantis that breathes fire and it's giant! That's okay if you've never heard of that movie, Igby, it's fine. So here we have a dwarf riding a very large man riding a mantis. This game is wonderful. Continuing our Ray Harryhausen-esque Bazarian monsters that look like they come from some sort of stop animated movie from the 50s is the giant scorpion Bazarian. This really does look like something out of a Ray Harryhausen, like Black Scorpion or, you know, Tarantula or something like that. It comes from like a B movie. The black scorpions shoot electricity from their tails. I couldn't get a picture of that because the electricity always knocked it down, my dude. So just enjoy this nice black-colored purplish scorpion. I really love the color of this guy. This coloring, chef's kiss. Chef's kiss. Now I'm gonna have to show you the monster from the movie Black Scorpion, aren't I? Oh, we're going on tangents. We're going on tangents. Ted goes on tangents. News at 11. Ted goes on tangents. News at 11. No, that's not what we wanted. We wanted... Yeah, there we go. So, yeah, this is the Black Scorpion from the Black Scorpion movie, but it doesn't look like the Bazarian up close, in my humblest of onions. Okay. Tangent over. I swear, no more tangents. And our final Bazarian of the game, who shows up at later stages, is my favorite personal Bazarian, the Bone Dragon Bazarian. This guy is fucking metal, and I love it. This dragon looks like Necroson from Primal Rage, if you know. I had a toy of that when I was a kid, and I really liked it. This looks like something that would come straight out of a fucking metal album cover. This thing is goddamn metal, and I love it. Here we have the pinnacle of metal. A dwarf riding a giant man riding a bone dragon. This is basically one sick guitar riff away from being a metal concept album. And I love it. Okay, now we're going to go back to bosses. Now we're going to have to go back to my least favorite character design in this game, which you'll see why very soon. The offensive stereotypes is what I like to call them. You can see why I call them the offensive stereotypes, right? These guys are probably the second most common enemy type in the entire game outside of the goons. And they come in all these wonderful varieties. Look at all these offensive stereotypes. These offensive these guys just, this design, no. No, Sega. Sega, why the offensive stereotypes, Sega? Like, what does this have to do with your beefy barbarian man Conan-inspired video game? Like, this is more of 1930s jungle movie vibe than Conan the Barbarian and Harryhausen combined. Like, these guys really do look like they belong to some kind of lost, really offensive movie. I mean, the offensive stereotypes are sadly everywhere in this game, and I don't like them. The offensive stereotypes can go, just no. Sega, what were you thinking with these offensive stereotypes? Next up is another boss, but all the bosses become common enemies later on. It's the Super Karnov brothers from Golden Axe 1. They're back! And sometimes they team up with the big mommy-dommy Amazons. They're big, they're beefy, they look like Karnov. They look like a muscular Wario. Like, this guy looks like he could tear your shit apart. This guy clearly does squats. But yet again, I'm getting a very Conan the Barbarian. Their color scheme gives me an action figure vibe, right? Like that bright red and that gold. Sometimes they come in silver. Gives me like a knockoff He-Man line kind of vibe going on. In my humblest of onions anyways. But they're better than the offensive stereotypes. That's for sure. Next up are probably my favorite monster design in this game, which isn't saying much because it's either them or the Bone Dragons, but it's a good design. These are the Tree Men. They remind, if you've ever seen that cartoon where Casper goes to the moon and fights Tree Men, these guys remind me of that. My childhood was weird. I really just like these guys because they feel like they could be guys in costumes or like really intricate stop animation puppets, which yet again gives me the Harryhausen like swords and sorcery fantasy vibe. And I just like their big old knife weapons. They're big old knife weapons. They come in 3 varieties: brown, green, and gray. And I just love these tree monster men. These tree monster men are great. I love them. They're just a great design. It yet again gives me a very fantasy vibe overall. Igby, I have a question. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say Casper versus Tree Monster Men? Because I'm going on another tangent, and you can stop me right here if you'd like. I'm sorry. Let's not go on another tangent. I'm sorry. Let's not go on another. Let's not go on another tangent. Well, I gotta show you now. I do apologize for these tangents. Here are the Tree Men from that Casper cartoon I mentioned. We had a VHS tape with a bunch of old cartoons, and Casper was one of them when I was a lad. So, that cartoon will forever be burned into my mind, and whenever I think of tree monsters, I think of that Casper cartoon. Next up are the Skeletonios, the Skelentoms, the Skeletons. The Skeletons, they're just Ray Harryhausen skeletons with big old shields, and I think they're pretty good skeletons overall. Yet again, they fit in with the theme. Everything so far, except for the offensive stereotype guys, have been pretty thematically consistent in my humblest of onions. Like, I could feel all of this coming from some sort of generic swords and sorcery fantasy novel of some sort. Overall, I think they do come in another color variant, but I couldn't get a picture of that because the other color variant was stupid rare, and I do not care enough to find out. I'm sorry. Next up is the armored skeleton mini boss, which shows up multiple times, and it comes in two different varieties. It comes in this armored green scythe horned armored skeleton, which I really like the design of. It gives me action figure vibes, right? Like, I feel like this guy could be like a generic He-Man action figure, like Skeletor's evil cousin Bob or something. It's just, I really like this horned design. And then sometimes he comes in this golden version, which yet again is even more Skeletor to me. I really like the design of these guys. It really gives me, like I said, a Skeletor vibe. I'm sorry. I apologize greatly. I prefer the green's coloring over the banana yellow of this guy. And I kind of wish we could see what the green dude's face looks like, but it's probably just like this armored skeleton over here. I like how each armored skeleton's rags are tattered. Like, you could imagine, like, they are literal warriors who have been brought back from the grave and buried in their armor. And I don't know if it's like a scythe or kind of spear or pole arm or something they've got, but, I don't like them. I don't care for that spear weapon, because it has fucking range. Now, this guy only shows up towards the end of the final stage, but I had to show you him. It's a giant beetle who lifts you up. He lifts you up in the mandatory. Now, all beat-em-ups have this. Literally every beat-em-up game I've ever had this has an elevator segment towards the end where they pump you full of enemies while you go up an elevator. And Golden Axe 2 obeys this law. Golden Axe 2 obeys this law. I just like the fact that there's this giant kaiju-sized stag beetle that they decided to use as an elevator in this game, and I love him. He's the best boy. He is good. He is a good child. Here we have the Cyclops enemy. He shows up as a boss multiple times in different color variants, but I could only get his golden variant. Yet again, he gives me a kind of an action figure vibe. I like his punk hairstyle though, like his mother could be one of the mommy dommy Amazons, right? I'm not the only one who sees it. Yeah. I like yet again, this feels like this could be achieved with like makeup effects in like the 1970s or something. Like, or 80s. Like, this could be a realistic creature effect in some sort of fantasy movie. And I really like his big fuck you club. The Cyclops is one of my favorite of the recurring mini-boss monsters. And then finally, we have a monster that literally shows up in only one segment of one path of the game. Well, two paths of the game, because they were not wasting sprites on one path of the game in this game. The tentacles. The tentacles show up only in the ship segments of the game, which is one area, and no matter what path you take, you're eventually going to hit the ship segment, so you're gonna see the tentacles at least once, but he only shows up once, and it's just big purple octopus tentacles. So I imagine this belongs to some kind of big purple fantasy octopus, where it's just a big purple tentacles. I have nothing to say. It's thematically consistent, though. Everything so far has been thematically consistent with its idea and theme that they set out to do. And now it is time for the one and only true boss of this game. Death Adder himself. For some reason, Resurrection has made Death Adder a little pale compared to his original, more bronzed skin sprite. So there's the giant fortress that is Death Adder's level. I really like how Death Adder, our evil overlord for the day, decided that his fortress will be carved in a giant visage of himself. Death Adder is one of those villains that I think is great. So after beating Death Adder's fortress, you go onto this dragon-powered flight McBob, and you fight Death Adder here. Death Adder's shield is part of his first stage. I really like his dragon shield. Like, that is such a cool design. Like, if there was a Death Adder action figure, you better believe it would have come with that. It should come with that shield, is all I'm saying. And I really like Death Adder's design. He's just like this big, beefy, barbarian, evil overlord. But I love his design. I just love him as a final boss character. Even if his shield shoots death flame from it. But hey, it's a dragon shield. Of course it makes sense. And then, of course, Death Adder, being a big, beefy boy, will shoot shockwaves at you. After beating his shield, then you get on to the second phase of Death Adder's fight, where he likes to shoot explosions at you. I feel like if I could shoot explosions at people, I'd do it too. And yet again, I really like his design. It's very generic, beefy, evil overlord, but I love it. I love it, though. It's great. And yeah, Death Adder. He's great. I have a question, Igby. Would you like to see his sprite from Golden Axe 1 so you could compare his design from us? Let's do that. I want to compare his. I want to show you his design, his comparative design, just so you get the idea. This is Death Adder's original design. As you can see, he's a lot more tan. So I'm guessing Resurrection made him a little pale compared to his original bronze-skinned look. And then here's the ending. After defeating Death Adder, yet again, everyone comes together to land the final blow against our evil overlord. And then he falls off, and he dies. And then the credits play. Congratulations! You saved the day. Death Adder will return. Death Adder did not get his revenge this time, but boy howdy, he might get it next time. Death Adder just keeps coming back in the sequels, and it's never explained how he does it. I just like to imagine that Death Adder is immortal now. That he's simply too swole to die. And that is Golden Axe, The Revenge of Death Adder. Overall, I really like the designs. It's all thematically consistent. My least favorite design, of course, is the offensive stereotype men. Okay, Igby. Iggleby. Would you like another Sprite review, or would you like would you like GeoGuessr? I'm going to let you decide. I'm going to let you decide. You get to decide. It's up to you. What do you want? Do you want another Sprite review, or do you want GeoGuessr? I will let you decide. Decide. Do 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 do. Daytona. GeoGuessr is a game where you're plopped randomly on the map of the world, and you have to guess and figure out where you're at in the world. Well, do you want to try that? Or would you prefer another Sprite review? It's up to you. Well, dare to be stupid. We'll take some wooden nickels. We'll look for Mr. Goodbar. Okay. Okay, let me get some new music then, shall we? Let's get some new music. Let's get some new music. Okay, next up on our Sprite review, on our Haha Funny Sprite review show, is a game called Astanayax. Astanayax. For the Nintendo Entertainment System! Okay, the story of Astanayax is you are a beefy 16-year-old by the name of Astanayax, named after some sort of legendary Greek hero, and you are built like a fucking JoJo character. Even though you're 16 years old, you're built like a fucking brick shithouse. You are transported to a magical world in order to save it by a fairy named Cutie. Cutie shows up at parts of the certain levels in order to either give you a new weapon. There are 3 weapons types. There's the axe, which has medium attack and medium magical power, which means it only has... So in this game, the longer you wait for the power meter, the stronger your attack is. The axe has a medium attack at full power. And then you have a magic attack, which you can choose between 3 magic attacks. A fire attack, which spews fire everywhere. A time-stopping attack, which isn't as useful as you think it is. And the best attack, the lightning attack. The lightning magic literally nukes everything on screen. It is dangerously cheesy. When in doubt, choose the lightning attack. You can either get a spear, an axe, or a sword. The spear is the weakest attack-wise, but it has the most magic. And the sword has the strongest attack, but the weakest magic. So you gotta balance. Anyways, Cutie shows up in every level. She tells you something, and you can get upgrades or heal your magic or your health from her. I'm gonna spoil the plot of this game. Later on in this game, Cutie sacrifices herself in order to help you rescue the princess. Godspeed, noble Cutie, wherever you are. Astanayax, this big jabroni man, doesn't deserve you. So, the problem with this game is, and I'm going to go on a rant here, there are 4 major problems with this game, because this game I like to consider the definition of mediocre on the NES. 1, you have what I like to call Belmont Knee Syndrome, which means when you jump, you have no control in the air whatsoever. 2. Astanayax is built like a brick fucking shithouse, which means he is easy to get hit because he's so fucking big. 2. You have not 3. You have knockback damage. 4. Because Astanayax is so fucking big and he has knockback damage, he falls like a rock. I don't care for his design. He looks like some big beefy jabroni guy in a football uniform wielding an axe. Astanayax, you are a jabroni. You have a dumb name. I don't like you. Here is the most common enemy type in the game. I like to call them flying berries. They come in blue flavor, pink flavor, gray flavor, and green flavor. They look like flying berries, right? I'm not the only one who sees these like berries, right? But they actually pulse up and down in blob form, but they just look like flying berries. So in this Greco-Roman fantasy otherworld, we have science fiction flying berry monsters so far, and a jabroni named Astanayax. This game's whackity schmackity doo. I want to show you the box art for this game. While we're at it, might as well go on a little tangent. Oh, by the way, this game has cutscenes in the middle between each level. I'm sorry, I forgot to mention that. And I won't be showing you many of the cutscenes because, frankly, the story isn't worth it to me. I'm gonna just show you the box art here. I'm sorry. This is the box art for good old Astanayax from the good old NES. He looks like a jabroni. Don't like him. Don't care for him. He's dumb and he's stupid and I hate him. Up next are these, what I like to call, flying eye melons. They look like, I know they're meant to be like flying beholder eyes from like Dungeons and Dragons, because this game is meant to be like fantasy, science fiction-esque theme, I think, is what they were trying to go with. Sometimes I felt like they just pulled random monsters from fantasy and science fiction out of a hat while making this video game. Especially with the bosses. We will get to that. I'm sorry. I apologize. One moment, please, and thank you. The flying melons eyeballs here like to shoot these blue bombs. They like to bomb you with these blue bombs, which, because of the knockback, they hit you in the fucking head and they will knock you into holes. Fun. Their texturing, like the veins and shit on them, right? You see that? I'm sorry. Is what makes me think they look like melons to me. And it might be because they're also green, so they look like cantaloupe or like an unripe melon of some kind with weird hairs sticking out of them. But I get that they're meant to be like beholders or like, you know, your generic flying eyeball monsters. Up next are the skeletons. They come in all sorts of varieties. The first stage, you get these blue skeletons right here, right? And they're blueberry flavored. And I really like these design. Yet again, this reminds me more of a fantasy movie than pretty much any other monster in this game. The rest of the monsters in Rogue Gallery give me more of a science fantasy or a science fiction vibe to me anyways. And then they come in purple flavored as well. Now, after a few stages, the skeletons will become a green, and this is where I'm sorry. One moment. I'm dying. The skeletons will become green flavored. Now, after the green flavored skeletons, the purple skeletons don't have this, but the green ones do. They start shooting an energy wave at you. Their swords will shoot this energy wave in the form of a crescent at you, and it gets really annoying. This is why we use the electricity lightning magic that nukes everything on screen. Later on, during the game, the skeleton becomes a mini-boss, and he's golden, and he shoots golden energy waves at you. He gives me a very Ray Harryhausen Castlevania vibe. Eventually, you also get gray skeletons, which only show up in one stage, which is the graveyard stage, which is appropriate for a skeleton to show up at, I think, in my humble opinion. And then, I couldn't get a picture of this, but I forgot to, so here's a picture from someone else. This is the orange sherbet skeleton. So the second to final stage of this game is a fucking annoying door maze. And in order to figure out which door you need to go to, you always have to remember, go to the orange sherbet flavored skeleton. He is guarding the right door of the game, of that second to last level. I'm just going to go through the enemies, and then I'll talk about the mini-bosses and the bosses. Here we have the killer plant enemies. Yet again, this gives me more of a fantasy or science fantasy vibe, like this belongs in some sort of weird 50s movie. They like to sprout out and shoot fire at you because of the knockback, and yet again, because of how big, thick, and massive Astanayax is. Just how fucking massive his sprite is compared to everything else. It gets really annoying because Astanayax just is so fucking big, he gets hit easily. He's too much of a thick boy for his own good. These are another variety of plant monster that shows up in the game, but there's no... yet again, the plants and these spitting plants don't have any variants from different stages that I've noticed. I'm sorry. I get a real, I guess, Castlevania vibe or piranha plant vibe from these designs, and they just like to spit these energy balls at you, which a lot of enemies will either gang rush you or shoot some sort of energy at you. It's just how the enemies work in this game. I don't really care for his design. Whatever. This is probably my favorite generic enemy design in the entire game, the mermen. The mermen also come in a purple version, but I forgot to get a version color of that. But I really just like the texturing of him. I like how his scales look, right? He reminds me of the creature from the Black Lagoon, aka Gillman, and that's probably why I like him so much. I just like his design, I'm sorry. And yet again, this feels more fitting for a game about a magical fantasy world than flying berries and whatnots coming at you. Here are the fish enemies. They're fish. They come in two varieties, green, orange. They remind me of piranhas or some sort of big mouth bass, but their design is just kind of goofy, and I really don't care for it. The enemy designs are either okay or whackety schmackety doo in this game. There's no in between. Where is that? Here we have the moth enemies that show up in the graveyard level the first. They're killer moths. They're just big giant moths that like to, that if you touch them they hurt you. Their design bores me. I mean, you've got like flying blobberry monsters, giant skeletons, mermen and spitting plant whatnots, but then you have like generic enemies like the fish. I don't understand you, Astanayax. All the creativity in this game went to the boss designs, clearly. Here we have the Blob Man. The Blob Man starts off as like this gooey gum monster, and then he becomes like this weird alien. Like, this guy looks like he belongs from some sort of 1950s sci-fi. Like some sort of Ronnie Reagan and his Ronald Reagan science fiction movie or television series, like really pre-Star Trek. He also comes in blue flavored, and here's the blue flavored. And he likes to fire this spear at you. So, yet again, I'm getting a very science fantasy, like 50s pulp fantasy kind of vibe from this monster design, if you can understand. Igby, I have a question for you. Do you, have you ever seen what the Martians originally looked like in War of the Worlds? Because I get a view, I get a design cue from these guys. We're going on a tangent? Yes, we are. See what I mean? They give me that kind of feeling, like like the Martians from War of the Worlds kind of feeling. Not those guys, but like these kind of guys. Right. Have I done all the generic enemies in this game? Okay. Now it's time to talk about why the mini-bosses. So the mini-bosses in this game show up as mini-bosses in other stages, especially at the final stage. The final stage of this game is a boss rush, and then you have the final boss at the end of that boss rush, and then you get boss rush variants of certain mini-bosses. The first mini-boss is one of these. He's this, I have no idea, some sort of two-headed alien creature who likes to become this weird puscular ball here. See what I mean? Like this weird meatball. He looks like some kind of weird two-headed xenomorph creature, and this is where the creativity went to in this monster design, because this is less fantasy and more wackety schmackety science fiction, and I really prefer the wackety schmackety science fiction of this game. Here we have the Rock Man. He shows up in multiple stages, and he likes to become... Well, he throws rocks at you. He comes in red and blue variants, and eventually he gets a gray variant at the final stage. He is probably the most generic fantasy out of all the mini-bosses. Like, oh yeah, he's a man made out of rock. There you can see all the color variants of him. He's okay. He does not get any... He is not getting any wackadiness points here in the wackadiness scale. This is probably my favorite mini-boss design because I just like it. Oh wait, I forgot to show you one generic enemy. Oh fuck, I forgot to take a picture of it. So in this game there's this red generic flying dragon monster that shows up. I forgot to take a picture of that. I'm sorry. I apologize. Anyways, this is the gargoyle dragon, and I just love its design. It's cute, it's adorable, it really does give me like a puppet fantasy vibe. And I really wish this guy had other mini-boss variants at the boss rush, but sadly he is a once in a while, he's once and he's done. He comes into our lives and then he leaves. I really just like his design. He's cute. I just like him. I like dragons. I'm a simple lay for that kind of shit. Next up is the Electric Minotaur boss. He kind of looks like he's made out of like he has some sort of chitin armor on him, or he's like robotic or something. Like he has banding on him, like he's like some sort of cyber minotaur. Which would explain the fact that he shoots electricity at you from his horns. He also comes in a gold version at the boss rush. I really do like his design. He's probably more fantasy than the science fantasy we're getting in this game, but this game really doesn't seem to have a thematic through with its monster design. It was like, this is why I feel like they just pulled random monsters out of a hat. Up next is the Banshee monster. She is very annoying. I really do like her design. She gives me, yet again, a He-Man and the Masters of the Universe vibe. Or some kind of generic fantasy monster vibe. I really like her design. I call it a her because I think it's a Banshee, but it could be anything. What she likes to do is turn invisible, teleport, and shoot fireballs at you. And because you're a chunky boy with no air control, it is hard to dodge the fireballs. Just at this point in the game, I started cheating and I gave myself infinite magic so that I could shoot infinite lightning magic at my enemies and just cheese my way out of it. The infinite lightning magic cheese was a godsend towards the end of this game. The first boss, holy shit, I have no idea how to describe this thing. It's some sort of pug chicken monster ridden by a blue beetle knight thing. You can tell the creativity all went into the boss designs. Like, what is this? Also, its head likes to come off its neck and bite you. I have no idea what this thing is, but I don't even know how it works biologically speaking. Is it a bird? Is it a mammal? What the fuck is this? But I love its design because it's so gross and alien and monster-like. After a while, the pug chicken thingy, I don't know what else to call it, I'm sorry, will die and leave you with the Beetle Knight, is what I like to call him, and he likes to shoot energy. I can't tell if it's, like, yet again, like insect armor, or if it's, like, plate armor that he's wearing, but he looks like a beetle to me. He looks kind of beetle-like. Right? You see that? The second boss is probably the most sensible boss design in our fantasy action game about a boy with the name of a Greek hero. It's Medusa, but she's made out of worms! Yet again, we're getting a real Geiger feeling, like some sort of organic, fleshy, ribbed monster with worms and like this bioorganic jewel design. You know what I mean? And then she shoots snakes at you, or pink worms. All the creativity went into this game's boss designs, I think. Boss 3, this is my favorite boss design besides the final boss. It's this weird rock golem that likes to shoot spikes at you, and he moves back and forth. When you hit him enough, the rock golem, turns out it's a brain monster! You expose the gooey brain monster center, and eventually you destroy his shell, and he becomes this flying brain cell monster. And this is what I mean by when I say the creativity went into the boss designs of this game. What is this thing? It's some kind of flying organic brain insect with a gooey rock monster shell, and it likes to shoot energy bubbles at you. What are you? And where can I get a toy of you? You and your rock armor are great. Here we have probably the most normal boss design of this game, which isn't saying that much. Well, okay, there's one more boss, which is more normal. The tree monster... Is it me, or does the tree monster look like he has big, giant testicles underneath his cheeks, right? I'm not the only one who sees that, right? Right? He looks like he has balls underneath his chin. Even for a tree monster, he looks like he's made out of roots and tangles and brambles. He likes to shoot these vines that, if they hit you, you get hurt, of course, because that's how this works. It's an NES game. Next up, this is a mini-boss, which I just call Mum Ra, because he's just Mum Ra from the Thundercats. I mean, he's just Mum Ra from the Thundercats. See what I mean? I remember I didn't sound like this at all. Yeah, he's just Mum Ra. And I really like his design. His colors make me think that he's made out of bubble gum or bubble tape. He likes to turn into this pillar of goo or something. Oh, I forgot a mini-boss. I forgot a mini-boss, didn't I? Here's the last mini-boss. I forgot about him. It's the blob guy. He turns into a big, beefy blob man, and he comes in green and red variants. There we go. That's your mini-boss. We forgot about him. I'm sorry, blob eyeball monster. You look like you're made out of pus and like a meat blob. After defeating Mum Ra, he becomes this big flying mummy genie, and I love this design. Look at this. This looks like something out of a metal album over, and it would be a concept album about a techno-organic genie who's trying to take over the world or something. He likes to shoot these energy bubbles at you and shoot Palpatine lightning from his hands, as seen here. Palpatine lightning. His weak point is, yes again, the jewel on his stomach. At this point, I was glad I was cheating, because infinite thunder magic literally makes all the bosses in this game a joke. So, do yourself a favor, give you infinite magic. You'll thank me later. This is my least favorite boss design because it's just a generic demon guy. This generic demon guy really looks like some guy cosplaying as a generic demon lord from some sort of isekai anime. My name is Sinayax, and I got transported into a magical world to fight a fairy. So after defeating this boss, this is the point of the game where Cutie sacrifices herself in order for you to save the princess. And I'm going to actually show you a cutscene of what happens after you beat him and after Cutie dies. Remember, your sidekick, Cutie, the person who's been with you throughout this entire quest of another world to save a magical princess, has just died, and you were sad about it. Thorndog is defeated! Woo. Our hero, everybody. Our big, beefy, meaty anime man who's built like a brick shit house, everybody. Astanax, you're a fucking jabroni. You are the worst hero forever. And now for the final boss, a fucking metal-ass dragon. Yet again, this dragon gives me sort of a techno-organic vibe. Like it's made out of, like, metal, maybe? Or it's got, like, metal incorporated into its, like, organic flesh or something. I don't know, but I love its design. Of course, like any sensible dragon, it shoots fire at you. After hitting it so many times, it turns gold. And then finally, it will turn red, where it will try to shit fire at you until you die. I really love this design. It's probably my second favorite boss design. And I kind of wish there was a toy of this dragon, because I really like its overall techno-organic-y look. All the creativity of this game went into the boss designs. Oh, wait, nope, that's the ending. We gotta show you. So after defeating the dragon, the princess looks pretty nonplussed. It's like, Astanax, oh, it's you. You've come to save me. Hooray. Is that fucking moron, Astanax. Couldn't I get a more competent hero to save me? Like, look, that princess looks so dead inside. I just love how dead inside she looks. Like how fucking done with all this bullshit she is. Anyways, after saving her, she promises to transport you back to Earth, which she does. Hooray. But it's not over yet. Now we have the ending. After all is said and done, it turns out Cutie is still alive, and now she's a human girl. Hooray! And she loves you. Hooray! So you didn't get together with the princess, but boy howdy, you now have a fairy girlfriend. Congratulations, Astanax. You now have a short stack fairy girlfriend. You've got that going on in your life, at least for now, and that's it. Hooray! You did it. You saved the princess. Cutie is your girlfriend. Astanax probably ends up working construction work for the rest of his life. I don't care about this. This game is what I like to call generic. The designs of the bosses are literally the best part of this game. And that ends Sprite Review. I'd like to thank you for coming. It really does mean a lot to me that you come to these streams. So, yes, I really do mean it. I don't know if I'm going to stream tomorrow or not. I might take the day off. I need to get away from my computer more often because I think it'll be better for my mental health. Okay, we're going to sign off on something. I'd like to thank you for coming yet again. It really means a lot to me that you come to these streams and then, yeah. I have a Twitter, Xolta11. I have a YouTube, Xolta11. I have a Discord, Xolta's Big Stream House. Thank you for coming. Goodbye, JoJo.